What's going on? What's going on, everybody? This is your man Miles. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is Real Estate 360. That's our educational platform. But listen, I'm doing this again here today because yesterday we had some audio issues, right? So I wanted to make sure that this was being done so that you could hear and clearly understand everything that's being said. And at any time, if you have comments, make sure that you put it in the box. Make your comments. I want to hear. I want to be able to respond to you and tell you about what's going on. So what we're doing here today is talking about the real estate market in 2024 and what you can expect as a real estate investor and where you can expect to take your business. I mean, are you going to stay in your backyard? Are you going to go to another area? Are you going to wholesale? Are you going to fix and flip? What are you going to do? And how do you know what you're going to do? How do you determine what that's going to be? On top of that, I'm going to show you where you can get this data, where you can find deals, where you can find areas that are active and areas that may not be as active as you want them to be. And I'm also going to give you a free software that you can utilize. It's not mine, but we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you how to put that to work and how to implement that into your business. Cool? Cool. So, having said that, let's just kind of jump into it. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? I mean, a lot of you have been listening to all of this stuff, all these people, all these talking heads tell you about, rising interest rates and low inventory and, urban sprawl, basically meaning people moving out into the suburbs. That is true. You do have people moving into the suburbs. There is no lying or fabricating that. That's a real deal. So how do you take advantage of it? Well, you have to know where the market is going, the market that you want to be in, and the process you want to utilize in that market. So how do you dictate what market that is? So let me give you a few ways actually, that you can find where these deals are, where you can find these deals, or where you can find the area that you want to go to. So one of the places that we like to go, as you can see here, right at the top here, is we check here, right? We check right here. Those two things are important, right? U-Haul. U-Haul, you can just type in Google, check U-Haul move-in states, right? The U-Haul site will pop up. You'll see it, and this is what it'll look like. It'll pop up U-Haul growth states of 2022. It tells you where people have been moving, where the growth is, right? And you can really get granular with this on the third option that we have. But you can see here in 2022, Texas, Florida. These are just the states. So if you're interested in those states, you have to go and look and say, okay, people are moving to Texas. Where in Texas, right? People are moving to Florida. Where in Florida, right? These are, I think, the top 20 that they have. Well, it's more than that. Actually, they give you the whole 50. So if you're only interested in the top 10, you'll just say, okay, we have Texas, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Arizona, Georgia, Ohio, and Idaho, right? Those are the top 10 that U-Haul has. So that's the kind of data that we start with and say, okay, how can we take advantage of this? I don't need to figure out where people are going. This is telling me where people are going. So how do we start out, with that? And that's how we start. We start by looking right there. That's one place that we go. Another place that we can look at, and we've used this for many, many years, is United Van Lines. U-Haul is people moving themselves. United Van Lines is people hiring people to move their things for them, right? And you can just Google, check United Van Lines migration patterns, right? The option will pull up. You will go in here and you will be able to see. Let me show you what I'm seeing. You can see right there. United Van Lines 46th Annual National Mover Study reveals where and why Americans moved in 2022. And it will just lay everything out. And what I like a lot about this one, and let's let it load a bit. sorry about that, is it tells you where people are moving. They're moving in to these places for them: Vermont, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Delaware, North Carolina, D.C., South Dakota, New Mexico, and Alabama. And it tells you where people are leaving. Why is that important? Well, that's important if you plan on investing in places where people are leaving. You want to know why, right? Okay, I want to buy, an apartment building in Nebraska. Well, people are leaving Nebraska. Well, where are they going? Why are they leaving Nebraska? Is it too cold? Is there not enough opportunity? What's going on? Do I own real estate in any of these states? And what cities am I in those areas? Is it going to affect the way that I do my business? You want to know all those things. That's extremely important for you to know, because if you're in an area that you want to invest in this particular area, and people are moving, man, that's not going to help you out at all. That's not going to do much of anything for you, right? So that's not really something that you're interested in. Now, if you really want to get in depth and look at the numbers inside the numbers, the third place that and this is going to take a little bit of time for you to do, but it's the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Census Bureau data, right? You get the Census Bureau data from the U.S. Department of Commerce, and that's going to tell you, where people are going. It's going to give you a forecast. It's going to give you a lot of information, but you got to kind of go through the process. And, this is what that site looks like. I was just looking up some stuff in Georgia while I was pulling this stuff up, but you got to go through it. It'll give you the stuff that they have right now, but you want to compare it to the data that they had the year before, maybe a couple years before that, and really look at the growth rates in those particular areas. You can even go as far as, what counties am I interested in? Why counties? Because like here, you have certain cities, certain counties that they're not in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta. They're not in Atlanta. They're outside of Atlanta, but they have just astronomical growth, and we would call these secondary markets. And in these secondary markets, there are opportunities, not huge dollar opportunities. Depends on what your strategy is. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you're going to acquire, small apartment buildings, or you want home rentals and you want it in a stable place that's consistently growing, but you can't really afford to be in a major, metropolitan area where home values can be, 400 and something. Here is 430,000. I mean, that's a big number today, right? It's a big number, unless you live in California or New York or maybe Miami, that's a big number for most people. So they want to go into other areas. We have people leaving, the cities, these major cities, and moving into these secondary markets because of that. Right? Because they can't afford, $3,000 a month rent and more in a lot of cases. So they move to places that make sense for them, period. And that's what happens. So we look at that and we say, okay, I can probably buy an apartment building maybe in one of these secondary markets for, $1 million, right? I don't know. It could be a 20 unit. It could be a 24 unit. It could be a 30 unit. It could be a 48 unit. I don't know. But you buy it for $1 million, you rent it out, and maybe you make, $100 a month in terms of profit per unit, right? It's not huge. It's not what a lot of people are looking for in a lot of other areas, but that's $5,000 a month. I don't care how you cut it. And you get the depreciation, and that number grows year over year. So that's a whole nother conversation. That's forecasting your income. All right. All you have to do is make sure that you can keep vacancy rates high. Make sure that people want to be in your building. Add amenities, put USB plugs in the house, USB circuits in the house, so that people have more options for their charging their stuff. Because we have everything. We've got our watches, our phones, our tablets, our everything that has to charge on these USB ports, right? And now coming the CUSB-C. So adding those things in are always going to be a great benefit. Doing whatever it takes, making sure when people move out, you have a fresh coat of paint, nice clean floors. Maybe you take your time and you upgrade, the bathrooms and the kitchens as you go, as you earn, as you can really increase the value of the property by doing that. Getting more rents increases the value of the property in this particular scenario. And so that's what you do. So utilizing the U.S. Department of Commerce can help you out a great deal. Now, maybe you're just starting out, maybe you're not. Maybe you already know this stuff, maybe you don't. But moving into 2024, I want you to understand for sure where you can get this data, what you can look for, and where you can get stuff for forecasting. Another great place to go is Zillow. Zillow is another great place to go. Let me see here. They have, I'm looking as I'm talking to you, all right? So they have a place in here, and I think it's in their resource center, where you can look up the forecast for any given market. I'm just taking a look while we go through here so I can share it with you. I had it pulled up, and then I had to restart this earlier today. Let me go in here to research. All right. Market reports. So we're going to look up market reports. And then you can just find all kind of stuff. So let me share this with you. So when you look up market reports on Zillow, you're going to see all these different things. And there's CSV files that you can download that'll give you the forecast that Zillow has. Keep in mind, Zillow has an enormous amount of data that they collect on everything. Every sale, that gets done, they might not get it. If it happens today, it might not show up for a month or two on their site, but over time they can see, okay, here's who came, or here's who bought, here's who sold, here's the price. They bought it for this, that, and everybody relies on that Zestimate, which depending on which aspect, if I'm on the buy side and we're doing big numbers, you don't even have to know much about real estate if you're doing big numbers and you're doing PPC specifically, or just have a lot of people calling in about or reaching out to you about buying their property. You can give them 50, 60% of the Zestimate. That's your offer. If you're making, 100 offers a day, you're going to get one or two of them every day, right? And those will be huge margins for you, but it takes a little effort to work up to that particular point. The point I'm trying to make is all of these are places where you can pull this data. You go in there into Zillow and you pull up the market reports, market research, and you'll be able to pull those up quite easily. Now, when we're talking about sitting in a Zillow, let's say you're at home, you don't have a bunch of money, you don't have money to market, you don't have money to do a lot of things, but you want to get involved in real estate and you're trying to figure out what market to be in. And you've looked at U-Haul, you've looked at United Van Lines to look at what's going on. And you say, okay, I'm really interested in the San Antonio area, okay? I'm just throwing cities out there at you, right? So let's say that you want to look in San Antonio and you don't know much about San Antonio, but you've read, maybe you've done a little bit of research, you Googled it and you said, here it is. I saw it on these other reports. So you want to look at it and you don't know much about it. So you're going to look San Antonio, Texas. So we're looking in San Antonio, Texas, and we're going to say, I want to see what's for sale. I want to pick a price. Remember, you don't know anything about this market, so we're going to leave the minimum at 0. We're going to say 200,000, right? We're going to say we want to look at 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And let me know if there's any, in the comment section, if you have any issues with my audio. I had some yesterday. I believe it was fixed. So we're going to unselect all these. We're only interested, let's say, in single family houses. All right. And let's just go here and say we're only interested in houses that are, it can be by agent or it can be by owner. We really don't care in this, but we don't want to have coming soon. but we'll just keep it simple here. Let's say we don't care what the maximum square footage is, but we do care that we have at least 1,000 square feet. And other sources I would use, I would have probably 11, maybe 1,200 square feet. And then we hit that there, and boom, look at all this stuff that's coming up. This is a city that has a lot of inventory on the market. They're saying there's no inventory, but here's a city that has a ton of inventory on the market at those price ranges, right? So now we want to, let's take the same data and let's look at things that sold. We see a ton of them on the market, but now we're going to look for things that are sold. Look at that. And there's a ton of them. That means there's a lot of activity. So let's go back in here and let's say we're interested in things that sold in just the last 90 days because there's all-time sales there. Boom. There is a ton of activity in San Antonio, Texas, a ton of it. What does that mean for us as investors? That means that we can go in there and start looking up, okay, we'll do a little more research. We're going to do a little bit more research, but that's where you're going to go in and say, okay, here's where I can find this. Here's what I can do about that, and just make stuff happen. We know we'll go in and we'll say, all right, here are houses that sold for $200,000. What do they look like? Are they renovated houses? Are they just selling from this person to that person? Nobody's renting them and they're just moving in. What are they looking like? And you can take that same data and say, okay, you'll pick zip codes from here and you'll see the clusters. You can see the clusters of real estate. Like here we have a cluster, so we can pick those zip codes. Those are the same zip codes that we can pull out of Zillow. When we're looking at a property, let's just pop one in. We can see what the zip code is. We'll just click on one. Okay, so that's 78235. If we were really interested in something like that, we'll focus on that zip code. That zip code, again, as you might notice, has a big cluster. There's a big cluster there. There are a few clusters, but that's the, most condensed. There's a ton of activity right here in this little northwestern corridor that has a lot of activity. Not so much on the southwestern, but from there going counterclockwise, it simply just picks up. So those are opportunities for you. Those are huge opportunities for you to say, wow, I really, 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 really think that we can do some great stuff in there. So then you're going to start looking. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to pick that zip code again, or a zip code. Let me write it down. Okay, so that is 78254. All right, so now let me share my screen with you. Now here's that free tool I was telling you about. This is called PropWire. This is like having a free version of PropStream or Batch Leads or any of those other things. It is a free version. So you can go in there. There's no link. There's no, you can skip trace inside there. You can list stack. You can do just a ton of different things in there. So if you haven't heard of it, or if you haven't signed up for it, go ahead and sign up for it, because this is a valuable resource for people that are just getting started and don't have a ton of cash to throw into something and learn how to use it. This will allow you to do the same kind of work and go from there. So here it is. I'm popping in that zip code. Bear with me for a moment. And it's telling me that there are, 27,000 houses in that zip code. And now we can go into these filters here, and we can start to filter out the things that we want, the people that we want to be able to reach. And there's, just all kind of things. Do you want absentee owners? Maybe you want absentee owners. So you can select absentee owners. You can select all kind of different things. Adjustable rate loans, auctions, bank owned, cash buyers, high equity, low equity, on market, off market, just a ton of different things, right? But just for the sake of time and to keep things easy, we're just going to pick that one there. right? So we've got that lead type. We'll go down to here in property type. Maybe we just want to look at single family homes. Price point, let's say from 0 to, we'll go to the same thing to 200,000. Bed and bath, let's say we want 3, 2. Okay. And we can go to more filters if we want. There's just a ton, right? So you can put up property filters, just all kind of different things you can do in here. The lot size, the year built, the number of stories. Do I want to have a 1-story or 2-story place? I won't go into a whole big thing about this, but let's say we want them just to be outside of the state that they're, that they have the property. Let's say we want them to have a minimum of 2 properties, okay? Because of whatever, we want to see what they have. Maybe they have other things that they want to sell. So there's a ton of stuff, and then we can save and close that, and then it will refine that search criteria for us and give us, a ton of stuff to look at if that's there. So here we just have the one right now. And I mean, we would get more if we were really doing a deeper search, because there's 27,000. So there's a lot of real estate available, right? So it'll give us a ton of information again about this property, what they think its value is, when it was built, it's being built now, the living area, the square footage, the legal description, everything you need to know about this property. You can go here to the owners tab and see what you can find out about the owner. So this is a fund who's probably doing new construction, but if it was a regular person, look at their portfolio size is absolutely massive. So they are building, real estate, right? But if you wanted, you could skip trace them. And by the way, that skip trace inside here is 10 cents. It's 10 cents, right? You can do market report and look at what's been going on in this market. Year over year, this market has been down 3.36%. Number of homes sold year over year has been 462, right? And that's going to be in that particular zip code. The median days on market, 46. I mean, there's a ton of data here. So we can see if you pick up a house for 150,000 and you've got to put 80,000 in it, you're going to be in it for 230. You've got 110, 115,000, maybe more, depending on, the things you put in the house. Okay, so that's just over a 3-year period. You can look over a 1-year period, and you can see that there. Boom, it's been steady over the last year, right at that 345, 344 mark. So, I mean, there's just a ton of information that you can get from utilizing these resources. So I would expect that you would take the time, go out, download some of these things. If you want to know more about what's going on in the market, or if you want to know how you can get started in this, or maybe you're already doing this and you just want to have a conversation with somebody else that's doing it, go into the description of this video and just set up a time. It's a 30-minute strategy session with me or one of my 2 partners, and we'll see where you are, give you some information on how you can build your business and go a little further, and don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to get out here and make stuff happen, because there is a ton of things that you can actually do. This is just a quote that I wrote down from a book that I was reading. The good news for people is the bad news. The good news is the bad news. In other words, when things are bad, there lies an opportunity 100% of the time. When you hear about all this craziness that's going on, there's always opportunity behind it. Let me show you. I wrote this book here. I'm not pitching it. I'm just letting you know this. I wrote this a year ago. It came out a year ago. When there's blood in the streets. It's a saying. It's a saying by an investor from the 1920s. Warren Buffett has been notorious for utilizing that quote as well. When there's blood in the streets, buy, buy, buy. When everybody else is seemingly losing, you go in and buy. And if you're a homeowner, I would also tell you, don't be afraid to go out there and buy just because you think interest rates are too high right now. Because guess what? The Fed didn't raise rates in December. They've signaled that they can drop rates up to 3 times this year in 2024. And what happens when rates go down? Values go up. So if you think today that a home is too expensive, oh, they're too high, I'm going to wait for values to come down. Don't wait. Why? Because there's a shortage of real estate. They're constantly telling you that. Even though we have urban sprawl, people moving out to the suburbs, those homes are going for $450. It depends on where you're living. But here in the South, right, those houses are starting in the fours. So, which is the median price here, or slightly above, maybe, 3 or 4% above. So if you think those prices are coming down, you're sadly mistaken. When interest rates come down, they're going to create momentum in the market. There's already a shortage of real estate, which means when the interest rates go down, people want to come in and buy. When they come in and buy, it's going to create some basic supply and demand. Everybody's going to be clamoring for what's not there. What's not there? Property. There's a shortage. So as a real estate investor, knowing that going in, I'm buying up as much of this stuff as I can to develop it over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, because as they drop those rates, there's going to be more mortgage applications being filled out. And as those mortgage applications are filled out, those people are looking to buy. And even though we have a lot of urban sprawl, we have people that love living in the city. It doesn't mean you have to stay in the city. You can go out to the suburbs and you can do the same thing. Because again, when interest rates go down, values go up. And when values go up, if you bought today, if you were holding out, going back to the potential homeowners, people that want to buy a property to live in, if you are holding out because you think interest rates are high, that same $400,000 house you're looking at now, that you're going to wait to buy until interest rates get low enough that you're feeling comfortable enough to go ahead and get that house, which could be a year and a half, 2 years from now, that $400,000 house will now be $450,000. So if you bought it today at $400,000 and paid slightly higher of an interest rate, keep in mind you can write that off. You can write off the interest. You can homestead the property. You talk to your accountant, and they'll tell you the best way for you to do that. But in 18 to 24 months, when those rates come down, you can do a simple rate and term refinance and have a $450,000 house with a payment that is going to be well below the $400,000 that you would have paid down much. So depending on, I don't know, if you put 3% down, you still have, $12,000 of equity. That probably won't change much in a 2-year period. It won't change much actually. But the point I'm trying to make is you'll have that you'll have $60,000, $70,000 in equity in that house at an interest rate of where you felt comfortable with the 2 years before. You have more house for the money is the point I'm trying to make. Your buying price would be just great. You'll be perfect. And all you have to do is pay the mortgage on time and you'll be in a good place, and you'll have a house and you'll have the equity, whereas you wouldn't have that same equity if you waited that time. So I implore you to go out there and make this happen for yourself if you're a homeowner. I implore you to go out and make it happen for yourself if you are an investor. Now is the time to buy. Now is the time to get out there and start wholesaling. You can still get out there and do subject twos. You're always going to be able to do sub twos. I mean, always going to be able to do sub twos. Sub twos are a great place a way to get in. It's a great place to get your first house yourself. If you don't want to put your name on the loan, maybe you can't get a loan, but you got cash, right? Sub two is a great place to be. So you have to get out there and do this. Right now, if you have an interest, you need to act. If you've been doing it and it hasn't been working, you need to refine. That means you need to start talking to like-minded people, get involved in groups and masterminds, get in an education program that you believe is going to take you, that you know is going to take you to the next place. That involves being in a community, having access to other people that are doing what you want to do and growing within it. So thank you all for your time. Again, If you want to schedule that strategy session, it's in the description. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Let's have a conversation. This is your man, Miles. I appreciate everyone's time. I hope this was useful information to you. Please like it, share it. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, and let's make things happen. Peace.